Hello everyone, welcome back to 3 News Now. Today is Friday, October 22nd, a victory Friday for the Cleveland Browns, might I add. We will talk all about that in just a moment, but I am Stephanie Haney, very excited to have you here to talk about the top stories from WKYC.com and our WKYC app. We start with acknowledging yesterday some terrible weather across Northeast Ohio. Many tornado warnings throughout the area. Of course, it does take time to confirm that something is actually a tornado, but we do have some of the damage, images of the damage, video of the damage on WKYC.com. One homeowner in Wickliffe with a home completely destroyed. Now, luckily, what we have learned is that homeowner was not home at the time, and so far we've not received reports related to injuries or deaths related to the tornadoes, the tornado warnings that were in the Northeast Ohio area yesterday. But of course, we'll be continuing to keep our eyes and ears out and let you know if there are any developments in that regard. But we do have your images, your videos that you've shared with us. Those are on WKYC.com, where you're able to see some of the aftermath of the storms throughout the area yesterday, which did cause quite a bit of concern for a lot of people. So check that out. That's on WKYC.com and the WKYC app. Also today, we learned from Attorney General Dave Yost that the Cuyahoga County grand jury that was considering whether to indict an East Cleveland officer in a shooting that occurred in January, a deadly shooting, that grand jury has not returned an indictment in that case. So that officer not charged in that case. We're referring to the case surrounding the death of 19-year-old Vincent Belmont. He was shot and killed by an East Cleveland police officer on January 5th of this year, so just about 10 months ago now. And it was Sergeant Larry McDonald who was involved in that shooting. And as I said, Attorney General Dave Yost confirming today the grand jury in that case did not return an indictment. So it was the jury's responsibility to decide whether that case would move forward, and that jury decided that they did not have enough evidence in order to move that case forward. Now, Attorney General Yost confirmed today, which is accurate, that what the grand jury heard is not allowed to be disclosed by law, so that information will not be shared. But he did say that the state is working to maintain transparency by posting the results of its investigation online. We do have the link for that on WKYC.com. He says those documents will be completely available for anyone to see. They can know exactly who's talked to, what the evidence was, what the facts were. And they said, hopefully by doing this, Yost said, hopefully by doing this, it will increase the public trust in the process, because not everyone can be in a grand jury hearing. Not everyone can be there in order to see exactly what is presented to the grand jury. He did highlight these facts from the case in revealing that finding from the grand jury today. He said that Belmont did have a weapon. It was recovered on the scene with an extended magazine that was visible to Sergeant McDonald. He said that the weapon was seen during a pursuit before the final confrontation between them, and that Sergeant McDonald had radioed about having seen the weapon, and that the final part of the pursuit occurred on foot in a residential neighborhood. He also, Attorney General Yost, took great care to label the situation as a complete tragedy. Here is a quote from him. "I have children and grandchildren of my own. I can't imagine the grief that the family must bear in bearing a 19-year-old son or grandson. My heart goes out to them. My heart goes out to the community, because this is a loss for all of us. It gives all of us a little less feeling of security. Yet, at the end of the day, Sergeant McDonald did what his training and his duty required him to do in the protection of himself and to others. The grand jury has rendered its decision." Now, we have been reporting the COVID-19 numbers daily. Those aren't in just yet, but you can check WKYC.com for those latest numbers in from the Ohio Department of Health. Those will be up momentarily. But the big conversation is how to know if you need or if you're eligible for a COVID-19 vaccine booster shot. So we're going to get into that here with a little bit of detail. There are a lot of factors, including what vaccine you started with, when your last dose was, to determine if you qualify. Just like the initial shots, the booster shots are free. They'll be available at pharmacies, doctors' offices, and clinics. So the reason that boosters are needed is because immunity against infection can decrease over time, and the extra contagious Delta variant has been making its way across the U.S. So U.S. health authorities want to shore up protection in at-risk populations. This is people who were vaccinated months ago, but the priority does remain on people who have not yet gotten any COVID-19 vaccination shots. So The boosters are now authorized for all 3 vaccines here in the U.S. The Pfizer boosters became authorized last month, and now the Moderna and the Johnson & Johnson vaccines also have government authorization for boosters. Now, if you're wondering if you can get a booster now, that depends on which vaccine you started with. If you got the Pfizer or the Moderna shots first, those 2-shot regimens, you're eligible if your last dose was at least 6 months ago and you're in an at-risk population. So if you're 65 or older, or you're a younger person who has health problems or a job or living conditions that put you at higher risk of severe illness or exposure to COVID-19. So this is healthcare workers, for example. Now, if you got the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, the 1-shot vaccine, everyone who got that is eligible regardless of age or other factors. And if you got it 2 months ago, you're eligible. So that's the time period for the Johnson & Johnson vaccine to get a booster, 2 months ago. Now, there are different recommendations for the different vaccines because it has been shown through the research as this has progressed that the Johnson & Johnson vaccine is less effective than the 2 doses of the Moderna or the Pfizer formula. So they've decided, health authorities have decided it's important for Johnson & Johnson recipients to get to that similar level of protection. Now, if you got a Moderna or a Pfizer vaccine, there isn't clear data that everyone needs another dose, but immunity against the infection in at least some people did decrease at around 6 months, according to their studies right now. Now, the question a lot of people have is, should they seek out a different vaccine? So the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and the Food and Drug Administration didn't necessarily recommend that people switch vaccine for a booster, but they did leave that possibility open. You know, early results of government studies show that an extra dose of a vaccine triggered a boost in those antibodies regardless of what shots people got to begin with. So for people who originally got a Johnson & Johnson vaccine, the Moderna and the Pfizer shots did appear to offer a stronger boost, but researchers have said the studies are really way too small and it's really too early to tell that any combination is better than the other. Here's another big question that people are asking. Do I need a booster to still be considered fully vaccinated? The answer to that right now is no. The CDC does say that you are still considered fully vaccinated after 2 weeks, after either your second dose of the Moderna or the Pfizer vaccines, or 2 weeks after your single dose of the Johnson & Johnson shot. So that's the breakdown on the information that we have related to COVID-19 vaccine boosters right now. Now, let's get to the discussion of Victory Friday, because the Cleveland Browns did improve their record to 4-3 with last night's 17-14 win over the Denver Broncos right here at First Energy Stadium. And let me tell you, it did turn out to be a beautiful night to be out at a football game. Got a little bit drizzly there at the very end, but for the most part, really just a great night for some fall football, for Thursday night football. And we often, each week, we do Jimmy's take after the Browns games. Jimmy Donovan, the voice of the Browns, gives his take about the game. He's calling D'Ernest Johnson the #1 hero in that win over the Broncos. He really had an incredible game. He ran for 146 rushing yards. He got the first touchdown of the game. Just an incredible performance. And we have his backstory up on WKYC.com. This guy, he was on a boat fishing while he was preparing to get back into the NFL. Just an incredible story there and an incredible performance, getting that opportunity to step in when Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, our usual 1-2 running back combination, were out because both of them have calf injuries right now. Now, Jimmy's take is that hero number 2 is Case Keenum, the backup quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. 33-year-old veteran. He's worked with head coach Kevin Stefanski previously when he was the quarterbacks coach of the Minnesota Vikings. Really stepped up. Used 10 different receivers to throw for 199 yards. A quick touchdown pass to Johnny Stanton gave the Cleveland Browns the 10-point lead. Overall, he just ran, according to Jimmy, Kevin Stefanski's system smoothly, which he knows well from his time with him and the Vikings. And that is what the Browns needed to see. Also, Jarvis Landry coming back at wide receiver. That was important. He had 5 gutsy catches, according to our Jim Donovan, and he really is the motor that makes the Browns offense move. And it did move, and we did get a win, and that is wonderful on this Victory Friday. But hey, we're also learning that the quarterback, Baker Mayfield, the usual starting quarterback, not only is his torn labrum in his left shoulder, but he's also got a fractured humerus bone on that left shoulder too. So yikes, not great there. He says this is what we're learning from Jay Glazer. That was information that was given to him yesterday. Fox Sports' Jay Glazer revealed that, and that supposedly happened when he got sacked by J.J. Watt in the third quarter of the loss to the Arizona Cardinals earlier this week on Sunday. So Mayfield told Glazer that he needs that fracture to heal to get back out there. Now, that could take a while. You know, it's really not clear whether Baker Mayfield will return for the game against the Steelers, the divisional game that's coming up on October 31st in Week 8. They've got some time to rest now, though, so we'll see what happens, and we do wish him a very speedy recovery. But let's get back to D'Ernest Johnson for just a second. After scoring that touchdown, that opening drive touchdown for the Cleveland Browns last night, he got some praise from none other than LeBron James himself. LeBron James tweeted, "D'Ernest Johnson on one tonight. Love to see it," hashtagging the Browns. And when Johnson found out about it in the post-game press conference, he was shocked. He was pretty much speechless. He said, "Man, that's my favorite basketball player. LeBron James, that's amazing. That means a lot." And he was really just kind of speechless. We have that reaction as well on WKYC.com, and it is so pure. So you just have to check it out. But another big star of the game, of course, as always, Browns defensive end Myles Garrett. He's incredible. He had this theory. He'd gone sleeveless for 2 games and then the next day had been, tapped for a random drug test. Random, as Myles Garrett has been posting about it in the quotation marks, because I don't think he feels that it's very random. I think he felt like he was being targeted because his arms are huge. And when he was showing them off, he was getting tapped for those drug tests. Well, he said that he was not going to go sleeveless anymore because he didn't want to submit to any more blood draws. He didn't want to go 3 for 3, so he wore sleeves for last night's game. But lo and behold, he was tapped for another random drug test today. So he has a new theory. He tweeted today that he believes they are trying to clone him. So maybe that's what they're doing with those blood draws. But nevertheless, Myles Garrett subjected again to another drug test today after the Browns beat the Broncos. That's 3 in the last 4 weeks for people who are keeping track. Also got to give a shout out, though, to the guy who won $1.3 million betting on last night's game. It was a 4-game parlay bet. So what that means is in order to win the full amount, there were 4 teams that needed to win. He needed the Denver Nuggets to beat the Phoenix Suns. He needed the Sacramento Kings to beat the Portland Trail Blazers. And he needed Appalachian State to beat Coastal Carolina and the Browns to beat the Broncos. Well, last night he had the opportunity before the game started to cash out for a guaranteed $650,000, but he said, no way, no chance. Gonna let it ride, and he won $1.3 million when the Browns beat the Broncos. And that was a $30,000 bet to start, by the way. So that is quite the return. Congratulations to him. Now, something not such a great return here for the state of Ohio. Before we let you go here, we have to tell you about this major misstep. We were talking about those new license plates yesterday that showed the right flyer backwards. Yeah, it's confirmed. The right flyer was backwards on those plates. The Ohio Department of Public Safety confirmed that. They apologized for the error. They said they'll fix it. But before doing that, they had already printed 35,000 of the plates. So 35,000 plates already printed. And so what we now know is the Department of Public Safety said that they're going to recycle those 35,000 plates, but they don't know if there's going to be any additional cost with reusing those plates. So who knows how much it cost to make those 35,000 plates. Now they're going to have to get them recycled. There'll be a cost there, presumably, and then a cost to fashion them into reusing them. Gosh, great move, Ohio. Oh, not something you want to see, but that is something that we did see. According to the registrar of the Ohio BMV, Charlie Norman, said that the production of the plates started in mid-October in order to build up a sufficient inventory. Not necessarily the greatest move there. Another person had a comment on this. Brian Stremkowski, he's the assistant director for the Center of Aviation Studies at The Ohio State University, said, "We're just so accustomed to airplanes looking like airplanes." And what he means by that is how they look today. He said, "We see them flying over all the time. When you see that back wing, we just naturally want to put that back." That's not how it looked, though. That's not how the right flyer looked. Nevertheless, the new plate will start to be available for drivers on December 29th with the corrected version of the right flyer, regardless of how you feel about the rest of the design. That is it for your 3 News Now update today for this Friday, this Victory Friday, October 22nd. I'll see you back here on Monday with more 3 News Now. Everyone have a great weekend.